Hello, everybody, and welcome to the media show on Pod TV Network. I'm Nick Pellavita. I'll be your moderator today, and we have our exciting panel who's going to be joining us. Let's bring in one of the people that are in the mega society, one of the high IQ societies of the world, also a former writer for Jimmy Kimmel Live. Let's bring in Rick Rosner, who can help solve problems for us in case artificial intelligence doesn't take over your job. Then we have another so you're toast. We have another smart guy who's a FIDE chess master, who's also the author of Chess for Dummies. So if you're a dummy, I guess you should read his book. Let's bring in Jim Eade of the Eade Foundation.
Thank you,
Chess
Nick.
for Dummies.
Great to be here.
I don't know about smart people. Well, we got another smart person on the network. This person is actually has a law degree, a master's in law, and also a doctorate degree in education, former associate dean of the University of South Dakota School of Law, Dr. Dan Worthington. Welcome to the media show. And then one of the founders of the Pod TV network, hailing from the Raleigh-Durham area, is Kim Calhoun. So we have our panel, and then we have our topic, or one of many topics, and that deals with the media. And one issue that I had that came up when I was traveling in Morocco and Spain, okay, I'm just going to bring it up to the media show. The choice between watching, I want to watch English program because I no habla español. Y poco, mi mal. Okay, so I want to listen to English. And so the only English channel that was available was the BBC. They were everywhere. And then the other one was not ABC, not CBS, not NBC, but CGTV. Chinese, and they don't use this acronym, I do. Chinese Government Television Network. Okay? So what happened to the great American media in Morocco and Spain? Are we going to be listening to Chinese media? And when is Chinese media going to come to the United States so that we don't have to listen to American media anymore? We'll just listen to what goes on in China. So that's the question I have for the panel. So what are our thoughts? Maybe we'll start with Rick Rosner because you're a smart guy.
We already get Chinese propaganda as part of the LA Times. That, once a month, twice a month, we get an extra section of the paper that comes, straight from Chinese propagandists.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. Is that our future in media? Mark Lee, you might be focusing on another show right now. What are your thoughts about that?
No, not at all. One of the questions I had is, aren't we involved with a publication right now, even here at Pod TV, that has some ties to China? I mean, they're not pro-China, but they're definitely a Chinese media outlet. And y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a major publication that is seen all around the nation. I remember first hearing about them, I want to say, at a local state fair and everything. And then, of course, after I joined this network, Rex Lee is very much involved with an organization called Epic Times. And as I remember correctly, Epic Times is partially made of folks that are Chinese dissidents. So they are definitely giving
Chinese dissidents, right? You're right. Yeah,
I mean, they are, to me, the business TikTok, right? Epic Times is that business TikTok, kind of like LinkedIn is the business Facebook. Right. So Epic Times definitely is the Chinese element. I don't see anyone attacking them, but we certainly attack TikTok.
But Epic Times is Chinese dissidents. They are.
Yeah, they're conservative.
Yeah, they are sort of anti-CCP. Okay, so that's
they are anti-CCP.
They are anti-CCP. That's what I said, sort of.
Not sort of.
They are, okay. And so the Epic Times actually creates a certain amount of friction between us and mainland China when we don't broadcast there. And the reason we don't broadcast there is they block our programs except through Facebook. And we don't have to worry about that too much because Facebook blocks the programs independently.
That's okay. We'll route it through TikTok, Nick. I have no problems using TikTok. We'll push it to China through TikTok.
Yeah, because the thing
is,
go
ahead. See, they'll use your information.
Unfortunately,
they all do, Dan. They all do.
Right?
The freedom of speech that we enjoy.
Chinese microchips.
So, but one problem with Chinese propaganda is that I don't read it. I throw out that part of the paper because I know it's Chinese propaganda and it's boring to me. So, if CGTV or whatever if they want to be watched, they have to not only they have to do a decent job of presenting the news up to the point where they can capture viewers, and only then can they slide the propaganda in. It's a problem faced by any news source, just getting eyeball.
Well, we had this with Fox News under the Trump administration. It was just peddling the government's point of view. But what China is doing is using soft power, what they call soft power. And it's very clever. It's been done for centuries, in many ways. But nowadays, with the ubiquitous nature of our media, it's more insidious than ever. In that you don't know if you're getting news, if you're getting entertainment, or if you're getting propaganda. And so if you're someone like Rick, you notice it's propaganda, but a lot of people don't. And a lot of what the Chinese are on their global network television, not government, but global, because they are global in nature, and this is not by accident. And what they're trying to do is present entertainment, what people think is entertainment, and then they slide in the propaganda. So this is a very dangerous thing, and the United States is way behind. As they are in Africa and countries that have natural resources. China's playing both hardball and softball here, and the United States isn't really even up to the plate yet.
Yeah, and that's where I see the problem is, Jim, is that the United States doesn't realize that we actually have we have competitors globally for people's minds, which is what the media is all about. It's to capture the minds of the people. And I think Hitler was correct. The first thing they did is wanted to control the media. So they had Joseph Goebbels come in and control the media because they know if you control the media, you control their minds. Putin is correct. He goes, well, we need to control the media. So they threw out all the independent press except what they spoon feed you. Now we come to the great United States of America. Well, as I said, we have 5 companies that control 90% of all the media in the United States. So the people in the US, they think they have a free press, but they don't. They have 5 companies that, and they control 90% of everything you read, you see, you feel, you touch, which means they control the minds and hearts of the American public.
Nick, I got 2
that goes on right now.
No, Nick, I got 2
well, when you were in journalism school, that wasn't the case.
No, that was not the case.
50 years ago, there was 50 companies that controlled 90%. Today, there are 5 companies that control 90%.
And a lot depends on what you are talking about in the media space, because one of the things that happened is that a lot of the media spaces have expanded. So if you are saying in mainstream media, I would agree with you, because if you know, and Rick knows this, if you're looking at radio as a form of media, it's about maybe 3 or 4, including Clear Channel and including to some degree definitely the iHearts of the world in that space. So it's about 3 or 4 or 5 at the max. In television, we're talking about traditional television. You're right, it's about 5 of those that are in that area. But there's another part of media that folks don't really always put in the media category, but I would argue that it is a form of media, and that is the entertainment space. And if we're talking about that, then we might only be talking about 2, with Live Nation being one of the biggest of them all, because they pretty much control every venue, every musician, and everything else that is out there. So like I said, there might be 1 or 2 minor players, but they are definitely a Goliath in that space. Would you think that I'm right, Jim? You're over there in the heartland of that, California, and Rick. But every time I turn around, Live Nation is setting up new rules and new things in what they allow or don't allow.
Yeah, but and it's also, you have to, when you talk about media, you have to talk about who owns the search engines too. Right. It's who's feeding you the data. When you ask a question, who gives you the answer? These are the media is not just your daily newspaper anymore. So the control is very narrow, as Nick is pointing out. And the number of people that tell you the information when you ask for information, who's telling you the information. And that's something that we all need to be our own advocates and understand who is my information source. And if you're just going to shrug your shoulders and say one source is the same as the other, I think you're right to be plucked by these people who are going to use you for your information and for their propaganda purposes, whatever they make propaganda purposes.
Well, today we have distrust and apathy about the news.
Correct.
When I was a kid, we had trust plus complacency. We got Time Magazine or Newsweek every week. We trusted that. We trusted Cronkite.
Absolutely.
And so it's, I mean, each era has its own issues. And, you know, this era, most people don't trust the news, but also are, you know, don't care that much. You need to triangulate to find out something close to the truth. You need to look at, you know, click around and look at various sources. Most people don't have time to do that.
Rick, is it that they don't trust the news in general, or is it they don't trust the national and the international news sources? I would argue it's probably the case that they don't trust the bigger sources, because we have also seen during this period a rise in community radio, not just here in North Carolina, but in California and around the world. We've seen a rise in people that are putting their news attitudes and their news thoughts out on platforms like Clubhouse, on platforms like Rumble. And I did that intentionally because one of those is considered more liberal and the other is considered more conservative, and all in that space. So we've definitely seen a rise in those kind of platforms where you're able to put out your thoughts and things in that space. And a lot of folks are also going for that niche kind of reporting. Definitely there have been a number of African-American papers that are still out here, including some that are more newer than older. And there are still some of the established ones that have been around for a while, even though some of them have gone bankrupt during this pandemic period. And of course, there was a rise in Latin press, and there was a number of Latin press outlets and Latin radio stations and Latin other things throughout the country. And because of the rise in the Latin population. So I can't say that those are not part of that bigger narrative as well. So if we're talking about the bigger national narrative, then that is true. But there's a lot of people that are getting their local reporting because they are more concerned, like we know they are even with politics, about what's happening in their local community.
Yeah, I mean, but some media have been hollowed out. Radio has been hollowed out, where the talent over the past 60 years has been moving elsewhere. And like, if you're trying to search for, you know, information on AM radio, you're much more likely to find weirdness. If you're in a new city clicking around, you know, you don't know what you're going to get, but it's probably not going to be good. Magazines, super skinny now, you know, devoid of advertisers. Newspapers, you know, the LA Times has gone from, you know, 60 pages every day to 20 pages. So everything's kind of do it yourself, assemble your sources from social media, and you know, everybody's got this half filled in view of the world.
Yeah, we may not know correct. But another issue that we had on the media show that I want to bring up was Bud Light. Apparently, you're laughing about this. Apparently, Bud Light decided to put a transsexual on one of their cans or something like that, and their sales fell 40%. 40%. Did the people at Bud Light make a marketing mistake by adding transsexuals into their equation?
Yes.
So I read up on this. They put
an
actor named Dylan Mulvaney on. They did an Instagram ad during March Madness. Dylan Mulvaney was in the Book of Mormon, is a Broadway actor who during COVID was out of work, which gave her the time to transition to a woman. because she feels she's a woman. And every day she put up a progress report on TikTok or Instagram about her progress, 365 days of becoming a woman. She's a very cute, appealing personality. And yeah, Bud Light did use her in an Instagram ad where she's drinking Bud in a bubble bath in a bra. And yeah, the right way to out. But if you look at Anheuser-Busch's stock numbers, 6 months ago, Bud, the stock ticker symbol, was at 45. Today, they're at nearly 65. They were at roughly 66 just before this hit. They dropped to 63, and now they've popped up. The last time I checked a few minutes ago, they were selling for stock was at 64.80. So they may have lost 1 or 2%. But overall, their beer consumption may have temporarily dropped, but their stock price is still strong. And I think few people really give a dang about this issue to the point that they're going to quit drinking the beer.
Well, not only that, but let's just be very clear as to who the winner was in this whole thing and all in that space. And it was the person that went through the operation and got the whole product going and got all this attention and everything. Because apparently, even though you're saying that Budweiser has cost her some fame and fortune and all that, she's also got some new brand deals. So she's already picked up a deal with Kate Spade and Nike. And apparently her numbers have gone through the roof because she was already a influencer, as Rick was saying earlier. She had 10.8 million followers on TikTok. And then after her Day 365 or Girlhood video series, that's how she first got the numbers and everything. But after this commercial, she's now just gathered another 87,000.
Okay, James, I've got a question for you. Why are you supportive of this individual?
I'm not being supportive. I'm just making the point.
No, I'm asking James, because he seems to be so excited about this Mulvaney character. So why are you so supportive of her?
Well, I'm supportive of the community in general, the one that she represents. And I think not only is she a winner, but the community that she represents is a winner too. Because what we saw is then use someone like who is an influencer for that community, has a lot of followers and people that track her. And so what happens to her is followed by a lot of people. And so what happened with the backlash, and I don't know why conservatives don't understand this, but the conservative backlash that were all the attacks that came out, like Kanye West shooting Bud cans and stuff like that, that always backfires. And I don't know why they don't understand this, because it always backfires. So when you get this quick hit, all of a sudden you get this swing back in the other direction that's much greater.
So you're pro
TS.
You're pro
champion.
You're pro queer, right? James,
Pardon
you're
me?
pro queer.
I'm sorry, Dan.
You're pro queer, right? Just to be clear, you're pro queer.
I'm pro human.
Oh no, you're pro queer. Yeah,
I'm pro human.
We want to make that's sort of like
labels like that, Dan, because it usually means that you have an agenda.
I have you have an agenda, not me.
Yeah, no, man, you got it backwards.
No, you're the one with the agenda.
I don't have an agenda, Dan. What's yours?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
What's yours?
Otherwise you wouldn't be so gleeful about this individual and what they've done.
Dan. I'm just happy for her.
Happy? No,
she's cute and appealing.
Yeah, what's wrong with that, Dan?
Yeah,
why do you hate her?
I don't think so. I don't see it that way.
Yeah, what is your agenda, Dan? Come on, come out with it.
I don't have an agenda.
Well, I think the right is worried about social contagion, where people like Dylan Mulvaney are highly visible, and this will cause young people. I mean, it's the whole idea of grooming, that if you make these people visible, that young impressionable people will decide that they are gender fluid. And
you're scaredy cats.
Yeah, I'm more on the side of if some kid wants to look, if I were in high school right now, I would at least be pretending to be gender fluid so I could get a girlfriend. I'd be wearing, my wife works at a school. Some of the boys wear nail polish. I would certainly be looking, I was desperate to lose my virginity in high school. If it took acting fluid and wearing nail polish, I would do it so a girl would think I was.
Just so you could get laid.
Yes. Everything I
Yes.
did in high school was to try to get laid.
There you go. Now, see, there's an agenda.
You get behind that one.
No, I don't know. I actually come from a place of faith. I'm not behind promiscuity in any form, nor am I behind anyone that would want to change their biological gender because they seem to be confused about reality, right?
Well, I mean,
that's
when you look at
very
Dylan
narrow
Mulvaney,
agenda, man.
she's obviously, I mean, she was a Broadway star as a man, but now that she's transitioned, she's obviously very at home. I mean, I'm sure was never the most masculine man in the world and very at home as a woman. And she's 26. I assume that's old enough to know yourself. It's, I believe that, some people are biologically intersex. There are a zillion ways for nature and genes.
Well, that's true. Some people are biologically intersexed.
But some people are also psychologically.
But my point is no matter what she does, no matter what surgery she has, whatever, she will always be a biological male. XY chromosome. She may look like and present like a female, but she is biologically a male, no matter what.
That
That's
mean,
not going
Dan?
to change.
What does that mean, though?
Well, I mean,
Biologically,
people,
she's a
James,
male.
for people
So
like
what?
you, it doesn't make a difference because you believe in gender fluidity. I happen to believe that God created man and
first
woman.
off,
Right?
don't tell me what I believe. You can ask me.
No, I
anything
mean
you
that's
want,
what
but
you're
don't tell
telling
me what I
me.
believe. That's
Well,
that's
but that's-
way
that
beyond
is
your
what
pay
you-
grade.
That is what you believe, and no, it's not below my pay grade because
It's-
that's what you're
It's
communicating.
not what I'm
James.
saying at all, Dan. I'm saying that I'm humanistic. I'm a humanist.
Yeah, you're a humanist, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't believe in this whole idea that God created two genders, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
No, that's one way of looking at it. It's a problem.
No,
But
I
don't
mean,
think
either
that
God-
your
either God
solution
created all
is to
things
believe
or
in
not.
God and
Yeah,
let
I know
God.
you don't
let the
believe in
big
God. So
Bible,
this is the
Bible
problem.
Tell us
You've
what.
got-
Oh,
You've
go
got
ahead,
a
Dan.
problem being anti-religious, anti-God.
I'm not anti-religious or anti-God.
No, you're not, and so you're. Well, so what are you, James? Let
See,
me
Dan,
explain
you
it to me.
keep putting your biases and projecting them onto
Well,
me.
no, I'm asking
But
you, buddy.
now you're doing it. Now you're asking a question. You should start with that and not
Well,
tell
that's
me
what
what
I
I
did.
think.
I asked the question, but you didn't answer it.
No, go. Well, we
You
were
said
talking over each
you're
other. I don't know what you said.
pro-humanist. You're pro-humanist. You don't believe that God created man and woman.
I don't
that
believe
there
in
are only
God.
two
No,
genders. You don't believe in God.
I don't believe in God. No.
No, see, that makes you what?
An atheist.
An atheist.
Not.
Yeah.
Well, you can say atheist in that I do not believe in any theistic religion.
Right.
Okay.
So we can base. So you have an agenda. You have a belief system.
No, it's not an agenda, Dan. It's a belief system.
Yeah, you have a belief system.
So you have a
way of
belief
viewing the
system, so
world.
you have an agenda. That's what you're
That
telling
is
me.
against what used to be the social norm, which used to be what most people would think of as radical, right?
Well, yes, like Jesus was a radical.
Well, Jesus
The
wasn't
overall-
a radical.
Jesus was a radical rabbi. Sure,
The
he was.
overall
he
question
wasn't.
is
He was-
whether
He was
the
the son of
world
God.
and
So
will America and the
How do you know
world
that?
be a better place
because I happen to
using
know
a
it for a fact.
model of a spectrum of gender rather than two? I mean, we all know people. We know that people fall. Some people are more masculine and are more feminine.
It's
than
all a
each other.
spectrum, Dan.
There's a whole
That's what you got to
spectrum.
understand. It's
And-
not black and white.
And will the world
That's
be
what your
better
belief is.
acknowledging this?
Small-minded people believe in black and white. I don't.
Okay,
I believe.
okay,
Well,
okay, but-
so you're calling me small-minded.
No, I
but-
say small-minded people believe in that. And if you want to identify yourself as small-minded, go ahead.
I'm not small-minded.
I'm not calling you small-minded. I'm just saying
Actually
that that's
broader
what I
than yours.
believe.
And I have to
such
know
an
more about
such an
God than
exciting
you do.
topic.
So,
You don't know more about God than
But
you
to get back to the original question, did
Yeah.
Bud Light screw up? I don't think
Yes.
they got.
Yes.
No, they're
it's
doing
like with
well.
Trump.
No,
They're getting
see,
billions of dollars worth of free publicity from
Yeah.
the controversy.
It was
well,
a great
from
move.
from that standpoint, that's correct. But see, my thoughts are real because I have one cousin, but I have 2,000 cousins, so who's transgender. Okay, but here's my thoughts, real simplistic. I won't persecute the person, but I'm not going to promote them either. I will not promote them either. What Bud Light is doing is promoting them, and I think that's wrong. They should not promote them.
They
Just
barely,
because somebody is transgender doesn't mean they get promoted.
the initial Bud Light spot was on Instagram. It was a niche little promotion.
That's right. They're
right-wing
They're
media
paying
to
money.
make a huge
Trendsetter.
They're
She's
paying
got a big
money
presence on
and they're
Instagram.
promoting. Okay, and they're using that person too. So
But
to me, that was all wrong.
almost every
I see,
beer
wrong,
company,
wrong,
It was a
wrong.
smart marketing move. I don't see what the problem is.
every
But
beer
because-
company,
Hold on a second. Wasn't part of
They
the
used the person because they were transgender. There was nothing great that was done by this person.
So
Nothing.
using
No.
like a football
Absolutely
player.
nothing.
It's like Nike. I mean,
They're
she's not an
promoting
athlete.
football players.
Hey,
Promoted.
Nick and Jim,
I
hold
won't
on a second.
persecute,
Hold on
but
a
I'm not
second.
gonna
Nick and
promote.
Jim, I got a quick question to ask you because
Yeah.
there have been several commercials that have existed. And I don't know the whole story behind the Bud Light commercial. One was that
Oops,
Oh, Mark, you're going out.
So even
Right.
Caitlyn Jenner was out against this whole stupid thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
but Caitlyn Jenner
But,
is
but I won't
not
promote
a smart
Caitlyn Jenner
person.
either.
Caitlyn Jenner is
You know?
super hypocritical and has just been.
Oh, Caitlyn Jenner was also a
Dan.
decathlete.
Dan, you're not getting your facts
Gold
straight.
medal
You
winner.
got to start with
the
the
deal is
facts.
like every booze company advertises
But
to
in-
gay people. Gay
Small-minded.
people like drinking like
Like to drink.
everybody else. They're a huge, they're a huge
4% of the population.
Hey, bro.
A beer company that hasn't advertised to LGBTQ people, it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Listen, so Dolan Mulvaney can do whatever Dolan Mulvaney wants. That's his life.
Sorry, I didn't
right?
hear that, Dan.
Is it his or
Dolan
her?
Mulvaney can do whatever Dolan Mulvaney wants. It's her life, right? Whatever. I don't care, right? What I do care is about the infusion of this crap, this immorality in our social media, and it's wrong. Like Nick said, it's an influencer. It is grooming. It is wrong. It shouldn't be done because of the contagion it creates in our
Because Dan
community.
says so.
Well, the thing,
Nick said it too.
Okay, well, let's analyze it. You're a chess player, Jim. Let's analyze it. Is this a lifestyle choice, or is this a medical condition, or both? In other words, if you're transsexual,
I can't answer in this specific case. I mean, that's
okay. Well,
I mean, I
the
don't
thing
know the
is,
details.
that's what I'm saying. You got to do
that
a deep
level.
dive into it because my cousin, who is transsexual,
I have a niece.
was that a lifestyle choice? If so, what you're doing is you're influencing my young granddaughters to make a choice that I certainly don't believe in. And then, or is it a medical condition? If so, then why are we promoting it? I mean, I just don't get the promotion of
Yeah, exactly.
this whole thing.
What?
You
I
know?
think you're looking
There's
at it
other
backwards.
things when there's so many other things you can promote.
You're looking at it completely backwards. What we're doing is saying that these people are human. And it doesn't matter if you
No.
have, it doesn't matter if
That's
you
not
have
what we're
like
saying.
one good eye
God.
and one bad
I
eye.
would like to say that, but that is not what Bud is doing. They're promoting.
No.
No,
Big
sure
difference.
they are.
They're
They're
paying
promoting
money.
to a community,
Sh-
like they
show
would
me-
to
show
a
me when
football
Bud Light
community,
paid money
like they
into
would
your
to
chess
any
foundation.
community.
Hey, Jim. When
I
did
think they
Bud
should
Light
stick to the
pay money in
Clydesdale.
your chess foundation? They didn't pay money in your chess foundation. You know what they did? They paid it for a transsexual. Okay, and your Chess Foundation got this.
Look, did they
That's
pay
true,
it only
James.
to a
James.
transsexual, Nick?
And I think
Was
chess
it
is a
only
lot
to
more
a transsexual? Was
benign
that the only
than a
budget
transsexual.
item in
I
a Bud
think
Light
chess is too.
advertising
I think we
account?
should do a
Come
thing
on.
with Bud to support chess. Don't you think?
Yeah, why didn't Bud Light put money in your Chess Foundation?
Because
I
I don't
agree.
have a million influencers.
No,
on
no,
Instagram.
no, it's because they'd rather.
Well,
promote
you need
transsexual.
okay. So
they're
what
not
you need to
promoting
do is cross-dress and
Or 10 million or whatever. she has.
And I think chess is worth.
you know. I
much
think
more
shave the
than,
mustache. And do
I think you guys are just scared of something you don't know. You're afraid of
No,
the
I'm
other.
not. I have a cousin. Do you have a cousin who's transsexual?
I had a
Yes.
cousin who.
Yes,
was,
I have family
no, no,
members
no.
who are, Nick. Yes, I do.
I
If you
knew,
want to
I
get
knew him
personal,
or her very
fine.
well.
But
And,
you know, the
he's,
point
and
is,
I hate to
is I
say,
look
Jim, he's a
at it
little bit
is that,
messed up.
that they aren't somebody that
ugly.
you can't market.
No, there's no reason to.
There's no reason
Okay.
not to.
Why didn't they mark? Why didn't they send a Bud Light to your Chess Foundation?
Why? Because I don't have 10 million viewers on
And
Instagram.
Well, you need to change that, James.
You need to change that, okay? You know.
Hey, I've
I
been
mean,
working on it for a few years
don't
now.
get
You
it.
know, maybe I
Well,
just
mean,
don't have
you know,
her
get a
her
backbone, find
cachet.
your faith, and get
But-
Maybe she's just
forward.
clever and cuter than
No,
I am.
no, I think really you're just not weird enough.
Oh, that's
You
true.
need to be weirder.
But
I gotta-
hey,
Jim,
hey,
You
Nick,
need to be
Nick,
weird.
Nick,
That's it.
Nick
Jim,
and Rick,
Jim, put on-
Nick
only
and Rick,
weird
along-
people
People get advertising
Don't
money.
worry
Come
about
on,
your-
Nick. You guys are
Hold on a
making
second.
no sense at all.
Hey, Nick and Rick, along those same lines,
Sure we
there is a very successful podcast out there called Whatever. That's literally the name of it, is Whatever. And there was a woman that did the opposite of what we're saying this woman did. Apparently, she was living her best life, but her best life included being very much promiscuous. And she actually came on the show and celebrated the fact that she was.
She came on our show?
She did. She came on this show on the Whatever podcast. It's not one of our podcasts, and she
Okay.
basically said that she had slept with 6 men a day for like a whole week. So you do the math. She had been with a whole lot.
Man, you get tired, wouldn't you?
And why do we want to promote this?
But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's something
my
that's
issue.
on
I'm not gonna
Instagram. Because I mean,
persecute
she is
a
an
person.
Instagram star now because of this
I'm
whole
not going to
notion.
persecute somebody, but I see no reason to promote it either.
She
All
wanted,
All right, so there is
Voted
one
it.
positive.
There's
There's
Oh, we got a smart guy up here.
There's
He's
one
persecuted.
positive effect of the Dylan Mulvaney thing and of trans acceptance in general, I believe. Now, some conservatives like to argue that transsexualism is a disease that makes you cut off your genitals. However,
yeah.
less than 1% of transsexuals get bottom surgery. Bottom surgery is brutal surgery.
And it's expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the more that people are accepted as trans, the fewer people feel compelled to get that brutal bottom surgery.
Yeah, because they're not trans if they don't. They're cis.
Well, no, that's not true. You can be trans, and I don't. Dylan Mulvaney hasn't gotten bottom surgery. I don't think she's even gotten top surgery. Top surgery is easy. Top surgery is a boob job, one way
I
or
know
the other.
people have had top surgery.
But anyway, like Caitlyn Jenner still has a penis, and Caitlyn Jenner's a woman who's happy to still have a penis.
It's easier to go pee.
It's so I believe the more trans there is, the more people can deal with.
Women is we can
It's
stand
not
up.
force people to get this brutal surgery to conform, to try to.
But see,
match.
that's misogyny. We
But-
should be
but-
sitting down, guys.
Wouldn't you agree they're deviants?
And so we don't pee on the toilet.
Well, no, I
They're-
believe that.
They're deviants,
that-
aren't
Well,
I don't know where you guys
I
are
believe
going.
that they were.
Well, yeah,
have to be
deviant.
deviant.
Wait,
They're
wait,
not
wait,
normal.
okay,
Hold on a
they
second.
are
Hold on a
deviant.
second.
I
Nick
believe
and
that.
Rick, hold on a
they?
second.
Rick's a deviant. Are you
No,
not?
but
if
it's
they
just-
are
They
deviant,
are.
I believe
How
their
they define
deviance came
themselves. I
from
don't see
God.
what's
I believe
problematic.
God
Nick and-
made them that way.
No,
God,
they haven't made him.
God
He didn't make
and
him that way.
evolution are not perfect at strictly delineating. That every man is super manly and every woman is super womanly. We know that's not true.
No, it's a choice, Rick, just like anything
That's a
else.
bell curve, man, and there's a lot more people towards the middle.
That's
with
right.
that.
You know, like,
You're right.
it's
It's a bell
every
curve.
It's a
man.
choice, you
Is
can
it-
choose
You're
to be
right,
that
Jim.
way
It's
or
a
not.
bell curve, and they're on the deviant side of the curve. No matter
That's
how you look
right.
at it. They're past the third standard deviation.
And so it's just a
possibly in the
choice.
fourth.
No,
James, it's a choice.
If you're going to go, all
They're
right,
at the
third
top
wait,
where they have both
hold on,
expressed, or
third
they're at
standard
one extreme or the
deviation.
other. Yeah.
Third
That's true.
standard deviation is 1 in 750, and way more than 1 in 750 people are gender fluid in some way or
Right.
don't conform.
But only because it's popular
Not
right
three
now.
standard deviations. It's
Oh, I
closer
don't
to
think so. I
2
think they've
standard
always been there,
deviations,
Dan.
which is 1 in 44.
I think David in your
Okay,
Bible.
so but that means
That
they're
way.
Are you
correct.
gender
You would
fluid,
agree with
James?
me. They're deviants then, correct?
Yeah.
Not really, because like they're throughout history. I mean, their entire cultures. Thailand has ladyboys. Native Americans had
And
the
Enochs.
equivalent of that. That
Right.
there were people who were born with male genitalia who lived as women, as Native Americans, and it's,
Oh, yeah.
David is
and
homosexual.
it's always been a thing. It's nature is not 100%, does not put everybody in the boy box or the girl
Yeah.
box.
You don't get blue and pink in some cultures.
So you have hermaphrodites.
brown.
hermaphrodites,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of blend them together, right? That you're telling
No,
me.
man,
That's
it's
certain level.
dependent. It's dependent on a lot of things, and it's
Okay.
not unnatural, as you might be thinking. It's
But-
not deviant,
No, it is deviant.
because
But
that's
it's
a negative
definitely
connotation.
deviant.
Deviant.
It's just
If you
because
want
it's
to talk
how each
Jim,
society
you're
chooses
a deviant.
treat that
You're too
deviance,
good at
right?
chess.
Yeah,
So you're a
if you
deviant.
want to talk
so-
statistics, like you're out on a particular, because I can play chess better than 99.5% of the people.
That means you're a deviant.
I'm
You
a
just don't
deviant.
know it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you are. You're deviant.
that way, Nick, that's fine. But if you want to use it as most people do in the conservative, deviant meaning bad.
Oh, see, yeah, you're subscribing that. I'm not.
So you're describing. Well, I don't know if being
I'm not
a-
subscribing
No,
that.
it's, most of the media does
saying
that.
yes
Most
or
of the
good
media
or
does.
bad.
It's
I
the
mean,
media
I don't know.
Let's get down to brass tacks. The media does that. It makes them see.
What percentage of
talking
people are
conservative
atheists,
media
James?
does that. Makes them deviants and make
So,
it
because
bad.
you're an atheist, does that make you deviant?
Don't you call me an atheist? It's not
No, I
any
mean,
of
I'm
your
just asking
business,
the
but I am, Dan.
You're a humanist. You don't believe in God, so you're an atheist, right?
No, it's not true. No, I'm atheistic. I'm not an atheist.
Atheistic.
Big.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna make
There's
the
a play on the words.
Does that
No,
make you- does
it's
that
actually
make you
very
deviant?
precise words. And
Does that
what
make
we're
you
talking about
deviant?
is not labeling people so
Well,
that
I
you
know,
can
I'm
put them
just
in your
asking,
little
does that make you-
pigeonholes. And
Does
so
that
that
make
you can
you
come
deviant?
down with
Are
your
you part of the
negative
mainstream?
stereotypes and put these
Just
into little
asking the
box.
question, James. I'm just asking the question. Does
What
that make you? Does that make you out of the norm if you're atheistic?
I have no idea, Dan.
I doubt it. I would think that
I think
more
it's
than
about
20% of Americans.
That's
are-
more. It's less than that.
What
I
percent?
don't think you know, Dan.
I think I do know.
What is it?
I doubt it.
It's like
All right,
80%.
I have one more way to look at it, where evolution, if
Source of
If
information needs to be
not
questioned.
if not having 100% of people conforming to strict gender norms was detrimental to the species, then via evolution, gender norms would have been much more locked down. But a certain amount of variation in that seems to have not harmed the species. And not just humans, but there are, it's controversial that there are gay penguins, two guy penguins.
Yeah.
It's not something
Baboons.
that's been strictly delineated throughout biology.
Yeah.
Well, in the animal kingdom, there's hermaphrodites that have both sexual organs.
Yes.
So, and then some of them actually change back and forth. So it does exist in the animal kingdom.
There's
So
even
I
asexual
do
reproduction.
understand that. But then if you look at the humans and you look at the norms and you look at the deviants, they're obviously on the deviant side because they're not in the norm side.
It's the use of the word deviant and the word norm.
That's because you're taking it.
Okay, according to
No,
Pew,
do it in
only
a
11
plain way.
Again, I'm not-
I'm with you.
Um,
Nick.
Hold on a
I'm
second,
not
Nick.
gonna
Nick,
promote
and
it.
hold on a second. I got a quick question to ask everybody.
Question to have
Um,
a 11%.
This is a quick question because I'm trying to understand what we're meaning by these different terms and everything. What is the population of folks, and I think it's a fairly large population in the United States, that are involved in one form or another of swinger activity. It is probably a sizable population that exists in the United States. Does that make them deviant?
Well,
Well, I think
Makes them immoral.
Yeah,
I didn't ask them whether they were immoral. That's whether they were deviant.
Yeah, deviance.
it's quite possible they're deviants, Mark. I mean, again, it just depends on how far you're out of the norm. In other words, I consider Rick Rosner to be a deviant. His IQ is way off the charts.
yeah.
He may not like hearing it.
Yeah,
but
The way
he's a
that
brain-
the way that you use the term,
not,
Nick,
not
that's
everybody
fine.
walks around.
That's
with
not the
Rick
way the
Rosner's
media
IQ.
uses that term.
Okay.
So be careful when you use
Well,
that.
the
term.
thing
All I'm asking.
is,
There
not-
you
not
go,
taking it-
James.
I hope he's not taking
I'm
it on
glad we got
negative.
Jacoby here because we've got a very popular event here. Dan is not going to like this
Deviants tend to
event, but
make
I'm going to
more
mention
money.
this event that goes on every week. As a matter of fact, I think it's coming up in May and everything. And I'm thinking Dan will probably think that this is a deviant event, even though it is an attempt to bring an issue to an environmental issue. But as Jacoby knows, because he's been here in Durham just as long as I have, there is a very popular event here called the Beaver Pageant. It is literally women that dress up in outfits and all in that space, and they are bringing awareness to environmental issues. That's their main purpose is around the Ellery Creek, and they're trying to bring an environmental issue in this space, but they do dress up as various characters, and they are women and men that dress up in these different kind of like everything from the space alien to Renaissance to whatever else they feel like dressing up in that space. It is a very successful, I think, very family-oriented event. I've been to it a few times, and folks seem to have a grand time. I think I've even seen Jacoby there once or twice and everything in that space. But I don't necessarily consider that a deviant activity. That's just a fun activity that is raising.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I don't say it's probably.
So when, I mean,
If you look at furries, there's a lot of of sexual activity among people who like dressing up in furry costumes.
so
Good
what?
for
I
them.
mean, I just bring into the conversation. What is the issue? What
We were talking about Dylan
dressing up
McVeigh and
We're
whether that
talking
was a
about
horrible
Bud Light.
mistake for the corporations
Light
to do
commercial.
that commercial and all in that space.
Oh.
Nick is of the opinion that it was
It's
one
not the
a
greatest
mistake
world.
from an economical standpoint, but he's also saying that the trans activities of some of our population are deviant populations and deviant conversations. So that's part of where that went.
So we'll go ahead and let go of the trans, saying that the trans community, they're being deviant by dressing up and stuff. That's ridiculous. That's not.
Why is it ridiculous?
Okay, here, let's do this. Why do you consider it deviant? Because of your religion?
No, it's deviant because they're outside this third standard deviation of the norm.
Yeah.
So
What
it's
religion
deviant
do you
because
and
they're
Dan belong
outside
to?
of the norm.
Guys are not-
What religion do you and
Wait,
Dan
wait.
belong to? Nick, what religion do you and Dan belong to?
Wait, I mean,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not going to persecute them, but I'm not going to promote them.
No, but what you want is
hold on a second.
uniformity.
hold
What you
on.
want is uniformity. What I
so-
want is unity. You
Yeah.
want
Wait.
uniformity.
Hold on. The question is, so it is deviant because it's outside of the norm, correct?
That's correct. Correct.
So the norm, if it is 1%, less than 1% of our population is transgender. They dress how they, So if the norm is considered the majority of the population, then
Right.
even being black is outside of the norm.
Yes, you're
No, you said majority.
No, it is,
I'm
because you're
saying
saying
outside the
percentages.
third standard deviation. If
There are enough black
were
people
less
to
than
be out of the
1%,
standard.
You're probably right, but that's not the case.
The
Around
black population is only about 15% of the population.
Okay,
Native
that's
Americans
inside
are
the third
deviant.
standard deviation, Jacoby.
So
Yeah,
If
it
you're
is.
going by deviation
fragment-
standards, being a Mormon or being Amish is being outside the standard. Of
Yeah, we cannot.
No, they're
Maybe.
inside the
There are
And
17
then here's
million
another
of us.
question. Here's another question for you. Here's another question.
Yeah.
That young lady who Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch signed has
Right.
more followers than this station and every
So what?
thing on this channel. So
So what's your point?
hold on, wait. Let me finish the question.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going standard deviation of the norm, that would make us outside of the standard deviation of the norm because they have more followers than we do.
This dude's for you.
She's
No. That is a legitimate question. If we're going by standard deviation of the norm, and we're saying that the majority of the population or the one with the bigger group is what the norm is, the norm follows her. The norm doesn't follow us. So we are outside of the norm.
Oh, that might be true. We do have a lot of
wait. The personalization and fragmentation of media allows for deviant advertising. In the 60s and the 70s, you had 3 networks. You had to target the vast majority. Now everything's broken up into a bunch of little pieces, and you can micro target smaller demographics.
Absolutely.
Which means that all these companies are going to acknowledge what Nick is calling deviant demographics, because they're a smaller part of the population.
Right.
So, and this is why I'm saying so if we look at the actual the connotation of deviant being a negative, there's a negative connotation.
Everybody brings negative connotations to deviant. I don't see it being negative, but
it is a negative connotation to
Really? There's a negative.
I know what you're saying. I understand,
Right.
but we're talking about the media and the way the media portrays it.
And so if we're going to actually say the representation matters and even focus on that and actually dealing with representation and inclusion, if that is our focus, what Budweiser did was great. And then on top of that, she has more than 1 million followers.
Yeah.
And in terms of a financial and in terms of looking at it financially, that was what they did it for. Because right now, the time that we're living in, if you have millions upon millions of followers, you can get signed by anybody. The content creators right now are where the business is. So if this is why you have those sports athletes going into podcasting, because they're making more money on that podcasting and getting advertising dollars from there than they are just, hey, let me just go out here. Because the majority of the athletes that actually do stuff that you see, like the majority isn't the Tom Brady's. The majority is that guy who's only there for half a year. So the majority of athletes,
just signed some major.
Tom Brady's a deviant, though.
Budweiser.
He's absolutely
I gotta give you some sad news, Jacoby. Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That's the negative connotation to
Nobody
deviant.
is a deviant. No, Tom Brady is.
Tom Brady's are
He's
out
been
there.
deviant all of his life.
He's a deviant all his life.
So that's not it. That's why we have to look at the words that we use. That negative connotation, we know there's a negative connotation. I'm just saying.
You guys
Other
don't
terms.
get
You want to say
conservative
you want
media
the third standard deviation?
Oh, yeah, are you deviant?
saying mean things and saying, "Oh, I didn't mean it. I was just joking."
I'm not
Look at
joking.
the richness of experience
just
that
mean.
we get now.
I am.
If you imagine having to watch the TV of the 1960s now and how miserable that would be when there were only a few
People still
dozen
watch it.
shows. Like, you wouldn't want to
Gilligan's
watch.
Island. Hello.
We have close to 1,000
That was
scripted
the
series
60s.
out there across all the channels to choose from. It's a richness of human experience. I used to be so pissed at how crappy TV was when it was just Gilligan's Island and the
know,
Brady
it's horrible.
Bunch.
What's wrong with that?
But a whole range of
Yeah,
stuff to watch.
if you have it.
Hey, I got news for everyone. Fantasy Island's back on.
I know.
And it's a new version. I
The
watched it
logo's
with
back
my
on.
sister, and
The
I was
logo's
like,
back on.
holy moly. I mean, so they can't come up with new content anymore. So they're just recreating and spinning some of the really, what they thought to be really good old
They're running out
shows.
of Marvel spin-offs.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, but if I was kind of impressed with the Fantasy Island one, the way that they kind of picked it up from the original crew and let it be inherited by his niece. And so, I mean, it was interesting. My sister loves all that stuff.
But
I
you
am not.
can't, that's not the only one, because I want to say that it's been fairly good. And
It's funny.
Jacoby, you can correct me, but isn't MacGyver, the new MacGyver, actually a pretty decent show and everything?
You got tons of remakes of old shows because not the fact that it's they can't come up with creative ideas. It's because people don't want to take chances with ideas.
Yeah.
Right.
There's-
It's safe. It's safe.
They also
Yes.
subvert the old genre. Like, look at
It's-
21 Jump Street, which was a semi-schlocky, kids undercover in high school show from 40 years ago. Then they brought it back as a couple movies making fun of the original, and it's a much better product. Same
And
when
if
they
you're in on
remade
the joke,
Starsky
it's funny.
Hutch. They take these old shows.
They're just mean, James. They're just mean.
It just again, it's a
funny
safe,
mean,
and
and then
honestly,
it's just
it
mean.
is one of those things that those companies do because it's a safe money bet.
That's all it
Because
is about the money.
people know or you live off of
That's
that
the bottom line
nostalgia.
with Budweiser. It's all about the
Then
money.
you
They
have the
made money.
Mandalorian.
Well, that's what it is with all companies. It's all about
That's
money.
right.
And
And
Again,
so they got a lot
so
of
to be shocked and appalled is you're just
that's what it
not
is. Shock advertising has come to be.
Well,
By
it
the
wasn't
way,
even shock advertising.
not even
It's
shocking. It's more
Well,
for
just go
you
get
to make it
room in. We'll
normal.
just go get room in beer. That's all.
well, Jatovi, last year our network had 2.2 million verifiable views. To give you an idea how
many
people are.
followers?
I don't know how many followers. I just know the views. They won't give you the followers.
Yeah, we
but
don't
they
get
I
we don't
can-
get that kind of count. We
I
just get the
can't get
views.
I
No,
just
I'm
get the
just-
views.
The reason I point that out is that she has more views and follows than we do.
Well, yeah. Well, we only have 2.2 million.
There are that many deviants. What can I say?
You know, yeah. She's got.
Yeah,
Again,
that's
that's
the thing.
negative
Well, it-
connotation.
also, I
Deviants
think it goes
everywhere,
to-
Dan.
It goes to shock.
It's,
television.
it's normal
wasn't
to be
shock.
abnormal.
Howard Stern.
It's
Howard
not
Stern made
shock.
a lot of money by doing shock
It
television.
wasn't
It's not
shock.
shocking,
you know?
though. That's the thing.
Hey,
Nick, Nick,
We
Nick,
know
Nick,
bad
Ratings will go up on
publicity
gamers
gets
doing
you
the
more.
call on.
It wasn't even
Raw.
public, and that's
Well,
wrong.
No, I'm just saying, we know
I
it's
got
like
you.
rule of thumb that the bad gets more views than the good. We know that.
Hold on a
Again,
second, because I know we're winding
Come
down.
on,
But this
yeah.
is one of the most popular forms
Yeah.
of
We know
television
that
that has
it can
existed
be
for
the worst
several
and
years.
most nastiest
Again.
thing will get more views.
Have gamers
We know
den.
this.
When you call them gamers
We know
den,
this.
put
It
a
was,
wig
the thing
on.
is, again, you got to realize it wasn't shock. It wasn't awe. It wasn't trying to get news.
Yeah.
The thing was,
Baloney.
Kirsten was one of the most popular people out there.
Yeah, she was
So-
popular.
You can't feed me that.
Money.
The
You
only
guys.
reason
About shock.
they did it- the only reason
I
they
didn't
did
even
it
know
is he's-
who any of these
he's
people were
transactional.
until all the bad
Other than
drama
that,
came
no
out. Because
academic
drama
reason whatsoever.
makes the news.
Again,
No
it's
reason
like saying,
whatsoever to give
it's
that
like saying
to
the
him.
Budweiser's
only reason
laughing all the way
Nike
to the
signed
bank.
Tiger Woods was because he's black.
It was all shock. No, he,
I'm just
no,
No, I
saying.
like Tiger Woods. He's a
I
great
didn't
golfer.
know-
if he was just
he
black,
could
he
jump.
would be
Oh,
broke.
he's a great
He's
golfer.
a good golfer. Okay, the guy
Yeah,
can
really
hit
good
the
But I
ball.
didn't know
Which
any
he
of the
has
names
a
until
million plus followers.
You know,
Well,
but
yeah,
he's a
Jordan
good
the
golfer.
same
At
way.
least he has a
Michael
metric.
Jordan.
At least he has a metric.
Her metric is she has a million plus followers.
That's the metric that follows. How many eyeballs? That's the metric that
That's
counts.
garbage. Anybody
James
can do
is
that.
pointing out the spot on truth. It's
Come
all
on.
about eyeballs.
It's not
If
about
your
the
metric
truth,
is
it's
a
just-
That
million
doesn't make her
plus
not a
When
good
you're
golfer.
rude, you get more
If it offends
followers
Dan, it's going to get a lot
than
of
when you're
eyeballs.
nice.
Put it that way.
That's just the game. That's the game today. Be
It's
rude
garbage.
and you get
No,
followers.
it's not about being rude, Kim. That's ridiculous. It's
It
about
is.
the
For you.
followers.
I wouldn't
That's
even have
only
known
about
who
the
she
followers.
was until the drama came out. I would have
Well,
never
who
even
was the
known
drama
her
from?
name. But
The
once the
drama was
drama
from
came
people
out,
who
she's being
hated her.
rude.
Kanye shooting Budweiser into cans.
I didn't know who most of the wrestlers. Well, that's not true because I used to babysit for some of them. But wrestlers, they're just the same way. You
They're
know, you
entertainers.
don't know the big ones, except the bigger the mouth.
No.
But that's good. I mean, if you figure out your niche to get you to your success,
Yeah,
use
and
it
I
as long
still
as you're
think
not hurting
kindness is
anyone.
popular, Kim. I still think kindness is popular, and that
I don't
people
think
get
it's
eyeballs.
popular
It's
enough to make
greed.
money, to be honest
I
with you.
do.
Kindness doesn't work,
My
James.
kids to
I
be
know.
rude,
I'm out.
disgusting,
Just to
filthy,
disprove how wrong
nasty,
you are about
punch
kindness
people
not
in
being
the
popular.
face.
Flying none.
To
Get
disprove
I
the
watch
fact
the
that
damn
that you're saying that
Get
kindness is not popular.
attention. That's what I'm
LeBron
teaching.
James is the most popular individual on the planet. He is the most kindest individual, most generous individual with his money. So don't say
Really?
that kindness is not
Are you talking
popular.
about Mr. Beast?
LeBron James.
But nobody knew
Yeah.
who he was until he got loud and rude and crazy.
No, that
I'm
was
just
even
saying,
playing
it's just like
basketball.
Trump. Nobody
That
really
doesn't
knew who he
mean
was
anything
until
about
he
being
started
loud.
running his
He has
mouth.
never gone and condemned people. The man has played basketball.
There's
I'm
definitely
not
a playbook
condemning
being
him.
nasty and rude. There definitely is.
I'm
LeBron
commending the
James
fact
is-
he found his niche to become successful.
But
No,
it's not
but you're
missing.
before.
So
He wasn't
the rest of
rude.
us do
One
the
or the
same
other.
thing.
Yeah, you
Why
get
is
the
it?
point
I mean,
that
I'm not saying
He
it's
was
wrong.
kind, right?
Oh, Rick
He
had
was
a
not
I'm not saying
rude.
it's
He
wrong.
paid for a
Fine.
school for kids.
That's
Yeah,
The
not
let's
dude
teach
was
them in school.
kind.
Come on,
That's
let's teach them
not-
to slap each other in the face, too.
Who says
Woo!
that,
Let's do
Kim?
it. Let's get
Absolutely
competition,
nobody,
people.
Kim.
I want
Absolutely
my kids
nobody
to be
says that.
rich,
Absolutely
famous,
nobody
the
says
whole
that.
world
Rick,
to know
Rick,
them.
Nobody
Karl
says that,
Malone,
Kim. You're
man.
making
Give us some
stuff up.
sanity.
Making stuff up on that.
No,
one.
hold on a second. Rick had a point.
Look, LeBron James is one of the most sanest,
Dan,
most
am I right?
stable, most well-behaved pro athletes. I mean, we've looked at eras where celebrities and pro athletes have been crazy. And we're currently in an era where there's enough information that, because a lot of the craziness comes from ignorance. Elvis didn't realize he was a drug addict. He was on 17 different drugs because they were prescribed by doctors. Now there's enough information. People who are
Yeah,
reasonable.
but everybody knew who Elvis was. He just knew how to swoon people.
But like
So-
LeBron James is like so like
He shook
smart.
his
He's
head.
a producer. He's super charitable. He's super stable.
Yeah.
He's not doing the
Exactly.
deal where you bang
Now,
a million people.
I'll give you a
on the
good
road.
example.
Exactly.
I'll give you
Except
good
on a
example of
basketball
getting
court.
attention for success when you're up against a lot of people. Okay, Dennis Rodman. Yeah, he
Dennis
went out
Rodman's-
there. He was wild. He was crazy. Had that, did his hair up different.
Dennis
He
Rodman
made
was never the
himself
most
stand
popular
out with maybe
person
a
on the
little bit
planet.
of mouth, a little
No,
bit
I
of
know.
whatever. But he
Felt sorry
did
for
it.
him.
He took
made-
that
he made
chance.
his
He took the
niche.
risk.
It was
Dennis-
narrow, though.
Dennis
He did it.
Rodman had mental problems. Dennis Rodman for a
Yes.
while was living in his truck.
You're missing
Um,
my point. He was different, and that made him.
But here's the
stand
question,
out.
Kim. Are you saying that is the norm, or are you saying that LeBron James is just an outlier?
No, I'm just saying that you have to be different and go out and do things to get you attention, no matter what it is. If you're in that area,
No,
There's
but your
nothing wrong
statement,
with it.
argument
You
was
just
that
have to do it.
rude
If
is
it
what
means
makes
being
you
trash
popular.
talker,
But
if
you,
it means
but you
being-
don't have to. But you don't have to do that, Kim. You can make a statement and make it very kindly without being rude or anything. One of
yeah,
the
but I
Yes,
biggest
wouldn't
and many
know
people do
any
that.
One
of
of the
those
biggest
people.
people,
I wouldn't
and
have
I know
known
that. No,
Caitlin
I'm
or
getting
Reese,
into
any
one
of their
because
names,
you know
if it hadn't been for
that I know
reasons.
Toby knows, and everybody else is gonna know once I mention.
The
fact
only
that
reason
there was a very popular weatherman
The only
here
reason
in
why I
this
knew who they
area
were.
that was tied into
you
his family, and he
to the
made
people
Because
that
they
are
made
rude
you.
to him.
kind of like
Yeah,
not-
James is a great
I'm
basketball
talking about the
player.
Holderness family.
Le-
It became
Le-
very
LeBron-
popular in all of that, whether they were singing about turkeys or whether they were singing about Christmas. But those were not very much controversial. They were just.
I just want to
fun
say
actors.
one thing in retrospect to all of this. If it wasn't for Michael Jordan's mama, nobody knew who he was. Booyah. Because Dolores knew how to negotiate and she nailed it. Go watch
Well,
the
there's a
movie.
movie out about that right now.
Yeah, I already saw it. I saw
Tiger
it
Woods'
premiere
dad.
night. So
Tiger Woods'
it's
dad had
a
him on when he
great
was
movie.
4 years old.
Michael Jordan's a good
Pop-up.
athlete.
He was a good player, but nobody was looking at him. Even when they were negotiating with him with other things, they wanted to put him like fourth, fifth below everybody else. Not his
Well,
mom.
Well, let's be very clear about Michael. Michael didn't get started till late, so let's be very clear about
Yeah.
that. Michael did not
He
become
got started
a great
late,
basketball
but
player
Dean
until
Smith.
well into his high school years and everything. 'Cause I think he even picked up the
Well,
basketball
Dean
much
Smith
later and
got-
everything.
Dean Smith knew what he was doing, and he was playing him when nobody knew he was. So, I mean, go see the movie. It's great. Michael Jordan kind of partially did a lot of the directing of it, where he sat on the set to make sure all the truth was told. But Dolores, if it weren't for her, not Michael Jordan, all of that would have never happened.
Let's talk
because
about the
she
media,
knew-
though, because I think Rick hit on
What a vertical jump.
She knew
We
what to
didn't know.
do, and she knew how to do it. And
We
she
didn't
knew.
know.
Well, my only question is,
much
I am going to
about
go
these
see the
people.
movie. Is does the movie deal with the other aspect of Michael too? Because Michael did.
No,
have
it doesn't.
Does it
No,
does
it
it
just
touch on the
deals
family
with-
dynamic at all?
It just
Remember-
deals with him and Nike and how he became Air Jordan. That's
So
and
Yeah,
where the logo came from. That's all
won't-
the shadow.
it
So
won't deal with any of that, Mark, because remember, Michael has to approve everything that went
Yeah,
into
yeah.
that movie. And the same
no, he
thing with
doesn't. I mean, his mom
Yeah, he
did
does.
an amazing job to make sure he didn't. I mean, that was
Michael-
her negotiation terms. Is
well, what I'm saying
You
is
gotta
that
see the
Michael has
movie.
to approve all of the stuff that goes into that movie. He would not let that movie happen until he approved the script for that movie.
true.
It's
Absolutely.
the same thing that
All
Michael
too
did.
often they go
when he
off
wouldn't be-
script, and he
No,
didn't
no,
let that happen.
he wouldn't-
He
he
was
wouldn't
really
approve
adamant, and
the-
she was there too. So were a lot of the people are still alive.
I understand all that, but what I'm saying is that Michael has such power in his approval because they couldn't put Michael Jordan in video games because Michael would not approve himself to be put in video games.
Smart
The
guy.
ESPN special that they did on Michael had to sign off on that. He has great power. And this is why Isaiah Thomas was so ticked off at it. This is why a lot of other individuals, because there are things that we will not learn about that whole situation because Michael will not allow you to learn about it.
That's my
But,
point.
I mean, that's
I know
that
we're
he
going to wrap
became
up and
who
everything.
he
I do
was,
have a quick question for
and he
Jacoby.
owns it. And
I know-
they all are like that.
No, they're all like that. And it's about proprietary rights. And we talked about that a little bit with the AI lady that we
I
had
mean, we
earlier
all
on the
won't
show and
really
everything. But
know
I
the
did have a
whole
quick
story
question
about
for
his
Sophia.
dad
We can
either.
hopefully bring it up on the Gamers Den, which I think we're way overdue for another show in all that space. But that being said, I know that there
we're
is
1
some
o'clock.
talk in media, and then I know we're going to wrap up. Maybe we can talk about this next week. But it does seem like a major media outlet is in a power struggle going on, that being BET. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts as to whether we're going for the Byron Allen side or the Tyler Perry side, because apparently those are the two millionaires that are trying to decide whether they're going to buy BET.
I mean, honestly, Tyler Perry has done such a phenomenal job with everything that he's touched. I would let Tyler Perry take it. Byron Allen is phenomenal as well. I would love for Byron Allen to start his own station.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love for Tyler Perry to just go ahead and take BET, what is there, and Byron Allen to create his own.
And Byron actually has some of his own that people don't know, because Byron Allen, if I remember correctly, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he owns the Weather Channel. I think he's part owner of the Golf Channel. I know he's definitely owner of the Weather Channel.
No, but he can make another. He can make another competitor to BET, because the same thing with like Univision needs more competition.
Yeah.
So the more competitive market there is, the more material you can get out there, more content you can put out there. It offers to a lot of African American and minority content creators that are searching and struggling because they can't get on places like your Netflix.
And
sometimes.
the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, man. If you get some competition
Exactly.
out there, then you have people who choose one or the other, but a lot of people choose both.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the more there is out there, the more
Yep.
potential for a lot of these minority creators that are struggling, just trying to put their information stuff out there. They're not getting views on YouTube, even though there's a ton of great stuff from minority creators are out there.
I was just
There's,
telling Kim that I ran across one that was late night during the NBA series. I actually talked to them about possibly even joining and showing some of their stuff here, but it's called literally Hoops and Brews. And it is three gentlemen that are sitting there and commenting on the NBA games and definitely showcasing their views of what is going on. But they get a little saucy in their language. So that's the thing that I was-
Saucy, but they're funny, but again, people have to find their niche, whether you are a fan of it or not. And if that's what makes you successful, as long as you're not being a bully, hurting anyone, seriously, just find your niche, run with it, because so many people become successful because that's how you get your face and name known. And, it doesn't matter what, but just don't really hurt people doing it. Really don't, just try to be as eloquent as you can. I always say, if you can rise above everything and become famous, great. But if you got to do what you got to do to get famous, do it. And then,
well, I just came up with a great idea. I think I've solved the
person
entire problem as we wrap up everything. I've solved the entire problem. Jim, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get you dressed in a dress, and we're gonna have you drinking beer on the Gamers Den, and we're gonna make it go viral. So this is what we're gonna do. You got to come dressed in the dress and show up on the Gamers Den, and then have it go viral, and then we'll get more hits.
I know we need to wrap up, but when I was very young, very, very young, my uncle, who I went to live with for a while, he took me to drag queen shows. They were very popular back in the day. Very beautiful. I got to become friends with the gay community. He wasn't. I mean, he ran a big travel agency business. He was the first international travel agency in the world. But he introduced me to that side of the world that most people are afraid of, and I wasn't afraid of it anymore. And I was like 17, and it was a wonderful, beautiful experience to me. And I just never could understand why people are so hateful to other people.
Why be hateful just because someone's different? I don't get it. It's part of being kind, and it's part of
I don't get it either. But you've got it, Jim.
If you're going to be a wussy about drinking beer because of a photo on it, then you're
I hate to say it, but a lot of it does.
That's my motto on my Facebook.
Yeah. that hatred that we're speaking of, that's going against, especially the drag shows to the transgender community. That's born out of a lot of that religious hatred. The hate.
Absolutely.
It's religious.
It's already on this show.
And it's also because the Republicans don't have any good policy positions, and they need to work the outrage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta have something to point a finger at and call the devil.
No, it's definitely backfiring. And one of the biggest examples of what can go on with the religious right, and I think Jacoby remembers this incident as well, but one of the most popular religious groups and everything used to be the 700 Club, which was associated with the bakers. And I do remember that, I want to say it was Tammy Faye came down here and actually judged one of those competitions here in Paramount County before she passed.
It's right here. I mean, it's been in my backyard forever.
Yeah, that's your
Praise
backyard.
the Lord. I think I knew some of those. I did know a lot of those people and people on the phone. I ran from them. There was way too much makeup for me.
And the part that really tickles me about all of the outrage, which is funny, and especially the Republican, hey, let's take it back and go back to, we're going to make it great again. Everything that we're talking about, the drag shows were popular back, Kim, you pointed out, yes, back in history. It's always been there. Heck, men used to wear dresses. I think
Jesus wore a dress.
No big deal.
I mean, there was one of our presidents you can actually find it still online, where he was in a dress as he was growing up. Was it Eisenhower or Hoover, one of them? But yes, all that stuff. Bugs Bunny was always in dresses.
The greatest warriors in the world, Scottish and Irish.
Edgar Hoover was in dresses.
Gladiators.
We look at theaters. There was a time that theaters did not allow women to play the role of women, and so they had men dressing as women in those roles.
I got an idea. On Thursday, all you guys put a skirt on.
Yeah,
because Brad Pitt did that. Remember, and everybody was making fun of him when
he put big deal.
Not a big deal.
This MAGA thing, Toby. This MAGA thing was make America white again, make America straight again, make America 1950s again. Wally and Beaver. Leave it to Beaver. It's like everything was a certain way. Everybody was the same way. So all I'm hearing about this negativity about this Budweiser commercial is about people conforming to a preconceived notion of what they.
Well, they're attacking Nike now.
But Jim,
they're attacking Nike now because they let a trans.
No, they're totally attacking them. But Jim and Kim, and I know we're going to wrap up. Got to get ready to do some of our other shows and everything. But if you go watch our event page, because we do have an event page now that shows live events. One of those events is a TEDx talk that I repurposed and all of that a Native American gave. And that's actually what he was talking about within that bed of live event coverage and everything, because he was talking about how if we study the Constitution, it is not an accident that women make 70 cents on the dollar. It's not an accident most African Americans are in the prison system. It was actually designed that way because the folks that created the Constitution were mostly white male aristocrats. So they were not definitely doing anything else but something against the group of the society that they did not want to encourage.
Well, if you read a lot of history, you'll find out that a lot of the laws we made was to make it more difficult for the Black community to obtain guns, to be able to do various different things, obtain education. And, over time, we have chipped all that down. But it's just now, the trans and gay community are having to suffer this. But I vote that we're men, all our guys, and I'll even put I wear a skirt anyway. We all wear a skirt on Thursdays and get Brad Pitt to do it because he did it not too long ago. And I think he was trying to make a point of something. But
the only reason I would go against that is because I don't want to make it about me. I want to support them in any way I can possible. So I'll stand behind them. I'll applaud them and everything else. I have nothing wrong with, okay, I'll put on dress. I don't care about that.
Who cares?
But as soon as I put it on, then the comment becomes about me and people forget the actual issue. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, earlier that was the attempt was to make it about me. What were my beliefs and things like that.
Yes.
And I really tried to hammer that. Because it's not about me. It's about making all these people in this community feel more comfortable, more accepted.
Exactly.
So what do we do? What do we do?
More normal.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly people.
Yeah,
and there's so much in common.
We were okay with it. But what do we do about all of the millions out there that are being
the way to do that is to actually remember what we say. Honestly, and this is why I kept trying to bring it up to Nick, the term deviant has a negative connotation to it. So if you call somebody a deviant, just because they're different, you're saying something negative about them. So we have to understand our terminology that we use when we discuss. We want to normalize everything that we talk. Just because she wears it's a transgender female.
Some words are loaded.
They're awesome. They're just like me. They can hang out anywhere I go. Just
some
because
of them are more beautiful than women,
and they are women. We can't say more beautiful.
But I know, but some of them are more. I mean, they take better care of themselves. Mm-hmm. They look better. They're gorgeous. They're dead.
The most beautiful woman I ever saw was at a bar in New Orleans, and she wasn't a woman.
One of the things in this, Rick, how you talk about the GOP and how they utilize and try and demonize people, the easy way they do that is through simple terminology. When you otherize a person, that makes them easy to target. So when we talk about the transgender community, the gay community, anybody within that, it's all about, hey, they're the same as me. I don't care.
Well, there's dog whistles. There's dog whistles, Jacoby. You were making a point like, the states' rights kind of thing was just a dog whistle. And now they got a lot of these things for, gender and now transgender. And all these types of things, what you're trying to do is paint them as the other.
Mm-hmm. We've been trying to do that forever. I mean, isn't that part of what the whole conversation was around the whole COVID shot thing and everything? Was people were being painted the other because they, for whatever reason, did not want to have the shot, and then you painted them as the other as well. So that whole other argument has been out there for a while. It's a demonization of folks.
It's one of the great movements that in recent years that we kind of it took off and was going, and it's still somewhat going strong, but we didn't take we didn't learn as much as we could from it. We learned some, but it's starting to slip back. Honestly, the Me Too movement, because with the Me Too movement, we learned about, we are in a patriarchal society.
Right. Yes.
We are in a male-dominated society. More people started to see that. And the way we talk about women and the things we say about women, that's what we should have taken more from that Me Too movement and actually use that across the board, especially with the gay community, especially with the transgender community, and so on and so, even with the minority community, because there are lines where we talk about what's cool is MTV years ago did a YouTube video called Decoded, and
Right.
talked about the different code words. So how when a white person walks up to a black person and says, "You speak well," that honestly is that blind racism that we have to understand.
Mhm.
Are you saying that other black people really can't speak well?
Yeah.
Are you saying that I'm a unique individual and I'm so those things? Or when you walk up to a black person and say, "Can I touch your hair?" or "Your hair is nice." So those are like little bitty things that we
I would
should
walk up
learn
to
and
bald headed
understand.
guys and go, "Can I touch your neck?"
I've had that happen to me.
So it's one of those things that we
I
have
hate-
to begin to understand and utilize and put that across the board, that it's not a matter of graying out things. And that's where the people don't understand or try and conflate woke with, "Hey, you're trying to silence me," or using woke to be racist.
Yeah, that got twisted
so-
around pretty fast. Yeah.
Yep. And it was because people
I
wanted to
think
do that.
people just need to use a little bit of common sense nowadays, get a little bit of common courtesy behind them. We need to end the bullying. That's the one thing I really want to do away with. And I think what religious, I hate saying this, but the people who are just over religious, they really didn't read the Bible as much as they said they did, because if they did, they would have known how many times Jesus got angry and why. And if you look at the few times that he got angry and the real why, it was because people were misusing the words of the Bible to treat other people bad and judge them. Literally, that's the only reason why he got mad. So, and given that tomorrow is tax day, does anyone know where the word levy came from?
That's a good question.
So it
Interesting.
came from the Bible. It was the name of the
Leviticus?
tax collector in the Bible.
And I think it's
Leviticus.
Leviticus too.
I mean, so all religions have, and every religion has their extremists. And yeah, that's the problem is, yes, the religious extremists. There are lessons in the Bible, but if you read it too seriously and get too hooked on it, there are parts in the Bible that are pretty bad.
You
Like
can
stoning
twist the
people for
Bible's
particular
word
things.
around to make it do whatever you
Whatever
want.
you want.
Well, I mean,
Just
part of
watch
the-
the movie
the
Chocolate
Klan-
Head. It's
yeah,
one
I
of
mean,
my
part of
good
the
examples.
The Klan was utilized the Bible as
Oh, sure.
I know.
so all that's anybody you can use religion in particular ways. But
Witch
we also
hunts
gotta
and
remember-
hanging and burning women at stake. It was really used to take their land. They were single women who owned their own land, and these men got angry about it and wanted their land, and so they used the Bible to say they were witches, and yeah. So
Well, burning people. Also, there was also more to that burning people at the stake, because burning people at the stake, the people were high. It was because of the fungus that got them high. The wheat and the price. We got to understand that part too. There's a lot. So I mean, there's a lot tied to it, and you can.
And part of the problem is that too many people take the Bible is made up of two components. I mean, made of many components. Got chapters and verses and proverbs and a number of other things. But my understanding from talking to religious scholars is that there are parts of the book that is supposed to be the holy book, that is, they're supposed to be taken literal, but there are also parts that are figurative as well. And I think that's where we get into some confusion, is because some people want to take it entirely literal, and I don't think that everything is supposed to be literal, because I think there's some figurative, like some what do you call them, literary designs that are in
None
it.
of those stories were meant to be literal in those days. Go ahead,
The
Rick.
overall strategy and theme of all these repressive systems, whether it's religious or political, is I'm sorry, I lost my chain. That, like, you look at white supremacists and you look at them and you go, these people aren't supreme at all. They're like gross hillbillies with bad teeth. And it's not that they're better than, the white people claiming white supremacy aren't better than everybody else. It's that they want to hold on to the privileges of whiteness or maleness or Christianness, because those are valuable resources if you don't have to share them with everybody else.
Well, and also,
Well,
they
they
were
also-
certain,
go ahead.
certain strata in the society were the only people they could look down were the blacks, and everybody else looked down on them. So they were the most aggressive in treating blacks poorly. And so it wasn't the guy in the mansion that was cruel. It was the field hand with no teeth, and who was the one that was the cruelest. And because now, and it was even true in Jim Crow days, when the Jim Crow days were going on, the people that were the worst to people were the ones who had very little going for themselves. And these are the people that took it out on someone who they could say was, well, I'm better than you. And so that's transformed. That transforms people to this day. And from being ready to work with somebody who they probably have a lot in common with, they want to make them someone they can look down on because it makes them feel better. But you never build yourself up by tearing someone down.
They do.
That is one of the pieces.
But I gotta go. Everyone, I love you. Thank you. See you next week. Take care. Oh, check out our new Pod TV. It's gotten reformed. So take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.
But yeah, James, what you're talking about, that's one of the key pieces of white privilege today. And that is still, a problem that we have going on, is that, you still have people holding on to that power. And when people talk about equality, they are fearful. Instead of thinking that we're on the same plane, they think that, oh, well, you're taking something away from me if you have the same thing.
Zero-sum game, and it's fear-based. That's the thing that took me a long time to figure this out. All this negative behavior, these terrible behaviors we see, they're based on fear. They're afraid. And so to make them feel more comfortable, maybe that terrible behavior goes away. But I don't know how we do that, and people flock to people that are like-minded. So it's a self-fulfilling fantasy that they get together and they say, yeah, so-and-so's bad. So-and-so's bad. We need to do X against so-and-so. And it just keeps going that way. And I don't have the answers. I wish I did, but I just wish people were kinder to each other on a daily basis.
Yep, definitely got to have that going on and everything. But we've had a rich and a wonderful show. It's time for us to wrap it up. We got some other shows coming on and everything, but definitely getting some great conversation, and glad to see both Jim and Rick from over there in the West Coast and all in that space. But we'll be back with more conversations around media on next week. But right now we're going to get on out of here, and we'll hear more things going on in that space on next week. And of course, like Ken was saying, there's all kinds of amazing programming happening here, including one that deals with education from Dr. Anthony that'll be coming our way later on this evening at 6 p.m. And then there is a show around the car industry that'll be coming our way at 10 this evening. And I think that gentleman is coming out of Valdosta, Georgia. So we've got all kinds of exciting shows that'll be coming on during the rest of this particular.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're getting ready to get on out of here.